Alright, what's going on everybody, man? This is a little update video for my Patreon and for the Discord. And what we're gonna cover in this video is some updates that I've done to the Discord and the Patreon, how to give and get a critique, and also we're gonna talk about the Discord roles. And the reason for this video is because, I did some changes and I didn't really warn anybody, and that kind of opened up a lot of questions, and it was really my fault for, not really warning you. So that was very stupid of me. I kind of apologize. I'm still kind of very new to how to handle a community. I'm not really a very social person, so it was my fault. I should have warned everybody before doing those changes, so I apologize for that. And the changes are in the tiers of Patreon. It used to be that everybody had access to the Doodle Warriors community Discord, and it was because when I first started the Discord, the plan was just to get everybody on the Patreon, just kind of connecting with each other and stuff. But as it's been growing more and stuff, we got like 1,000 members and stuff. It's gotten so big that it's getting kind of confusing. And if you aren't really part of the live streams and you're really getting critiqued by me or Alexis or another coach, it doesn't really make sense to be asking for critique from the community, because you don't really know the context of like the live streams, and it just kind of leads to a lot of messiness and confusion. And I try to do the split, but I think it's better for the $5 tier to just get all the rewards. So $5 tier now gets the processed time-lapse videos that used to be for the $10 tier. So as a $5, if you just want to support me, if you just want to get my art, behind the scenes, all of that, you just get all of the processed images and all of that in the $5. If you want to really be a part of the Doodle Warriors and you want to be a student and get critiques and all of that, you have to be in the $10 tier, because that's where you get feedback from the live stream and the community. And in order for this to really grow and get more people in it and stuff, we gotta sort of separate people that are gonna get critiques and people that just want to kind of support and just kind of watch and watch different videos and stuff. So these are the changes. Again, it was my fault for not really explaining that beforehand, and I just kind of changed the roles on Patreon, and some people lost access to the Discord, which is very stupid of me, so I kind of apologize for that. Now let's talk a little bit about how to get a critique and how to give a critique, because again, as this thing is kind of becoming bigger and stuff, I want it to be very useful to everybody. But as you kind of get a community, like, it just gets kind of confusing for people and stuff. So you need to make some sort of rules in order for this thing to run kind of smoothly. Like if you have less people and, it's just like a very small community, everybody, everything is going very smooth. But as you get more people, you need to establish, some sort of a, points that people have to follow. So that's why I have mapped out, I'm going to post this on the Discord, of how to get a critique and how to give a critique. The giving a critique is very simple, but still wanted to kind of point that out. So let's start out with how to get a critique. So the first and most important thing is that you need to be watching the live streams and other people work, and try to give yourself a self-critique before you actually, ask for critique, by comparing your work to other people's work. And that was one of the main things, is that, if you don't really have access to the live streams, you don't really even know like what I'm asking of you and what the exercises are about. And even if you watch the live streams, it still might be a little bit confusing, because I still haven't released the course. So once the course is out, it's going to be even easier for you to kind of establish exactly what you're lacking. But it's very important to compare your work to other people's work and see kind of like, where you fall short, and try to give yourself a self-critique. That's why I've really tried to kind of establish some, sort of points for each exercise, and again, with the course comes out, it's going to be even more clear. So that's the first step to get a critique. The second step is to make sure that you're not mixing, you're not making any general mistakes, like missing planes or, missing lines. Like, just make sure that, again, you look at other people's work and be like, oh, that's why they have a circle here, I need to draw that circle. So just general stuff like that, you can, self-critique yourself. Then the third thing, also really important, is make sure you do at least 3 to 5 different drawings before you ask for critique. Like, a lot of people just do one drawing and they're like, oh, how is this, And it's like, if you don't do a couple of different drawings, none of these exercises is really gonna make sense. So when you ask for critique, it just like everything is wrong with your work because you haven't really done any practice. So people are just gonna be like, well, everything is wrong. So it doesn't really make sense for you to ask for critique if you haven't really done the work yourself first. And when you actually do the work, you start understanding some stuff, and then you can actually ask a question, right? So if you don't understand any of it, it's just, what are you gonna really ask? Because you don't understand any of it. So you need to kind of do the work and have a specific question. For example, like, why is this, circle on the side of the head or something like that? So it's really important to do at least 3 to 5 paintings or drawings before you ask for critique. Then number 4, make sure that the person before you has been given a critique. How the Discord really works is that, the person that posts is going to get a critique. But if everybody posts, nobody's really going to get a critique. So that's why it's so important, when somebody posts to get a critique, and then another people posts, so make sure that you wait the person before you to get a critique, and then you post another one. So don't post unless the person before you got a critique. Then number 5, submit the same format as the live streams. That was another kind of thing why there needed to be a change in the tiers, because if you don't really watch the live streams, you don't really know how critiques even work. So it's very important for you to have the same format. So you have the reference, the tracing, the reference, and the freehand, exactly like the live stream. So then coaches or more advanced people can tell you, you have problems with, for example, the tracing, or you have a problem with the freehand. So make sure that you have that same format as the live streams. The number 6 is ask for a specific question or issue that you're struggling with. Know, what do you think, or I'd love some feedback or stuff like that. Again, that kind of goes back to the general stuff. So when you post some general questions, people don't even know what to even say, and it's oftentimes because you don't even know like anything about your work. So you're just like, what do you think? So that kind of goes back to you doing 3 to 5 different paintings, kind of watching some live streams, and then, having a specific question and then asking it. Like, there's nothing wrong with you asking, like a very beginner question. That's not bad, as long as there's a question. Just don't be like, oh, what do you think? So focus on 1 or 2 aspects of your drawing. Don't ask like 11 different questions, because, it's going to be very confusing for the person critiquing you. So it'll be kind of smart if you just kind of, ask, are my lines kind of clean? Or, what do you think about the proportion in my drawing? So make sure that you ask a specific question and focus on 1 or 2 aspects in your drawing. Then number 7, be careful to not flood the channel in replying. If the discussion gets too long, go into the DMs. That's also very important, because as more people kind of like start posting and stuff, especially like in exercise 1, if you kind of like start flooding and chatting back and forth with people even like start losing where the critiques are, and it just gets very confusing. So make sure that you ask for critique, you get a critique, you thank the person, maybe you ask him another question. But if it gets longer, you just DM them and you just start discussing on the DMs. I think people are open to kind of, talking between each other on the DMs, so there's nothing wrong with that. So make sure you use the DMs. And then number 8 is take the critique and apply the feedback. Do at least 3 to 4 more drawings before the next critique. Again, that kind of goes back that, if you do more work, all of that is going to make sense, but it has to make sense first before you really get a critique. I've written down here, oftentimes practice is going to answer your own questions, or you don't even have a question. So through practice, you're going to have some questions. So trust the process and understand that you have to kind of go through a little bit of struggling yourself, so you understand what's really wrong with your work, so you can really fix it. So do at least 3 or 4, and then ask for another critique. And another thing that I've written down here, but I'm going to mention it 2 times, is that nobody's really obliged to give you a critique. So if you want a guaranteed critique, just submit for a live stream, but nobody's really obliged to give you any type of a critique. But then let's talk about really quickly how to give a critique. So it's very simple. I don't want to make it like so complicated. I know there's like a lot of points, so don't get overwhelmed. It's just, I want it to be as clear as possible. So how to give a critique is, number 1, make sure that you're at least 1 lesson ahead of the person, and don't give feedbacks on things that you're not sure of. I think a mistake that often happens is, lesson 1 people giving advice to other lesson one people. So make sure that you're at least one lesson ahead and you've graduated from that lesson, so you can actually give clear feedback on that person, because otherwise you're just going to confuse them more. If somebody's just starting out, they're very confused, we don't want to confuse them even more. So only give feedback if you know kind of like what they need to be doing. And then focus on the question the person is asking, and then point them in a direction. Sometimes, they might be asking the wrong question. So it might be like the person is asking, what do you think about my lines, or are my lines clean? And then the problem is even that they're not even following the right exercise. So you need to point that out. But just in general, the critique works for you to just kind of point them in the direction, and it just means, you need to be working on your lines. You need to be getting clear lines. There's a problem with the nose, blah, blah, blah. And then number 3 is keep overpaints only for very specific things, and only if you're very sure what the person needs to do. Otherwise, keep it simple. I think overpaints are very, very useful, but I think they're more useful to people who have practiced more, So I think doing overpaints for like complete beginners is kind of, it kind of leads to them expecting that there always needs to be an overpaint, and they still haven't really done enough work to even understand their problems. So an overpaint is just kind of, unless it's for a very specific thing, like for example, if they fuck up a nose and you overpaint their nose, it's very, very useful. But just don't feel like you have to do an overpaint for every critique. Like you can keep it simple and just point out what the person needs to work on. If you submit for a critique and you ask for an overpaint, you're gonna receive an overpaint from a coach. But just in general, overpaints are for more like lesson 4 and lesson 5. I think when you get into shading, overpaints are, super, super important. But at the beginning, oftentimes people just don't have enough experience, and you need to go through that experience and then receive the feedback. And then I've written down here that giving feedback to others will help you improve your work, because you'll be able to recognize the mistakes easier. So that's so true, because I've actually become a much better not only teacher but an artist myself through giving a lot of feedback, because when you really look at other people's work and you ask what's really wrong with it, you kind of get to understand what's wrong with your own work. So the more you give feedback, the better you're going to become yourself. And I think as a general I don't know, karma shit, you need to be, when somebody helps, you need to help other people. I mean, as long as you're ahead of them so you don't confuse them. And then I've written down here some general kind of rules. There's a lot of rules to the Discord. You can read all the rules down here if you go to entrance and rules. But just really quickly, some of the main ones is don't submit for a critique if the person above you has not been critiqued. We already talked about that. That's really important, because otherwise it's just going to be pure chaos. Then nobody is obliged to give your critique. If you want a guaranteed critique, submit for a live stream. So I think the Discord is very, very useful, and I want it to stay useful. That's why I'm making all these points and stuff. But don't get angry if you don't get a critique or something. Nobody's really obliged to. Like, people are just doing it because, it's a community and people want to help each other. But if you really want a guaranteed critique, just submit for a live stream. And then we have don't get defensive. Ask questions if you don't understand. Don't argue. Don't be like, oh, why you drew, like, don't get emotional or nothing. Like, it's just all about understanding what's wrong with your art. So instead of you arguing, just ask questions if you don't understand. And if it becomes too long, just go into the DMs so you can discuss with that person, so you're not flooding the channels. And then we have pay attention to other people's feedback and be more resourceful. Your mistakes are not unique. They've probably already been done and answered. So this is kind of weird, because the people that understand this don't need to hear it, and the people that don't understand it, they're not gonna listen to this. But it's very important to just be resourceful and kind of look at other people's feedback and stuff. And you have to understand that that's why I've made all these exercises so kind of like pointed, and just be like, do this, do that, because that way you can really recognize your mistakes. And your mistakes are not unique. All the stuff that you've done, other people have already done it. So that's why it's so useful to watch the live streams, look at other people's work, read through the channel before you actually ask for critique, because oftentimes you're going to find the answer in some other people's work. We've been doing this for a long time, so there's already a lot of information. So just be resourceful. Don't be afraid to ask for critique. Don't be afraid to give a critique. I don't want these kind of points and rules and stuff to kind of like give fear to people. It's just important to kind of have some established stuff so it can actually not become chaos. And then we have the Discord roles. So there's a lot of kind of roles that I've been adding so it can become more clear. And again, it's a process. So I keep doing something and then it turns out that it's not the best thing to do, so I need to change it. And people just can't really deal with change and they get kind of frustrated and they're like, oh, I thought this was like this. It's just like, it's a process. So things kind of change. I change stuff. I just really want this to be running as smoothly as possible, but you have to understand that the more it grows, the more you have to kind of improve stuff. So it's really the changing of it. So we have the admin, which is Alexis. As much as I try to be in there and stuff, I have to be working on the course. I have to be painting. I have to be doing all these videos. So I've really kind of outsourced the server to Alexis. So she's really the admin in there and does all of that. So if you have any kind of like, you want support or something, you can email Alexis at dothewarriors@gmail.com. Then we have the mod, which is people that ensure that the rules are being followed. So if somebody's not really following the rules or there's some issues, not any drama or nothing, just somebody like breaking the rules or something, you can DM a mod and they can kind of take care of it. Then we have veterans, which is people that have graduated from the course, just like a little badge of like, like this person is very advanced. Right now we don't really have a lot of veterans, but in the future hopefully we're gonna get more. Then we have this new thing that I call feedback warrior. I first thought just to add people as a mod, but it's not really a mod. Like they don't really have any they don't really need any sort of like authority in there. It's just people who are more engaged and involved in the community, and they're more open to giving feedback to others. So you can message, if you see anybody as a feedback warrior, you can message them. They're open to kind of help you with your work, but they're not obliged. So if somebody says something simple or doesn't want to give you feedback, don't get I'm saying, like, don't be rude. That's what I wanted to say. So if you want to guaranteed feedback, again, submit for a live stream with me or Alexis. So these people are not obliged to do anything. They just want to help people. So that's why I'm there. And if you want to become a feedback warrior and you're lesson 3 or above, or you're more advanced and stuff, you can email Alexis. And we're gonna see if we can make you a feedback warrior. But it's really just people that just want to help other people. It's not like nothing is obliged. And then we have Patreon, which is people that have signed up for the $10 tier. So that's how you get access to the Discord if you're signed up for the Patreon. And then in the future, we're going to have a warrior badge, which is going to be people who have bought Portrait Accelerator. So if you buy the course, when I put it out, you're going to get lifetime access to the Discord. And then if you're on Patreon, you're going to have access to the Discord as long as you're signed up for the Patreon. And then in the future, we're also going to have mentorships. Right now we have Alexis mentorship, which is kind of full, but in the future we're going to have Alexis, Aishwar, everybody else who's going to be an official coach. So they're going to have their own mentorship, and there's going to be an other badge, like another role, like Alexis mentorship, Aishwar's mentorship, so people know like which mentorship they're signed for. And then if you have any issues, you can email dothewarriors@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions or want to contact me personally, angelganev6@gmail.com. Like, I really want to be involved in the community and stuff. Like, I want to help everybody, but at the same time, I don't really, like, I got 11,000 things I got to worry about. But if you still want to, like, suggest me something, I'm always open to kind of improve these things. Like, I don't want to seem like, I'm just leaving it out there and stuff. Like, I really want to help run it smoothly, but as I said, I don't really have a lot of experience, and I'm also kind of antisocial, so I'm gonna make mistakes running this community and stuff. So I know it's gonna be a process. So if you do mistakes and you just learn. And then if you can't access the server, connect your Patreon with the Discord. I'm gonna add a link to this website in the description down below in this video, so you can click this if you don't get access to the Patreon, and you just read this and you just follow the rules. So this is it for this video. Again, I apologize for not announcing this earlier, but I make mistakes. So I appreciate you. Thank you for the support, and I'm gonna see you in the live streams. Peace, baby.